मिनट में ज्वाइन करेगा लिखा है।
There are two other callers on the call.
Okay, so yesterday we got stuck up with something we were not supposed to get stuck up with. Somebody spoiled the table and we had to pay a big price for it. Okay, material. Okay, maybe somewhere here we stop it. I thought we have written. have not. So we had written the first part of our program actually. We had designed our selection screen. We had designed our selection screen and we had planned to
There are 2 other callers on the call.
file name application server presentations. Yeah. Till this point we had written it, and our file was having an F4 help also. We could pick up the file from the system. Okay. I think we have read, I did not get saved. Okay, perform read input file. So the first task is to read the contents of the input file. tt underscore file. So if rb underscore presentation is not initial, rb underscore so if you're trying to read the file from the presentation server, we are using the function module GUI underscore upload. GUI underscore upload. Actually, it is not a good habit to not handle exceptions. Sometimes we avoid it. Underscore file. See, whenever we are calling function modules, and if the function modules are having exceptions, it's always a good habit to handle the exceptions. You never know. P underscore IT underscore anything can go wrong. And if a function module is having exceptions and you do not handle the exceptions, then what will happen? The program will dump. To avoid the program from dumping, we always tend to handle the exceptions. So if suppose we are reading a file from the application server, it is open dataset p underscore f name for input in text mode encoding if size sub rc is equal to 0. Try to get the contents of the file. Do md read dataset p underscore f name into w underscore file fmc. If size sub rc is not equal to 0, exit. Else w underscore file to e underscore it underscore file. Right. So reading the contents of the file. That's the first task. Next, process using it underscore file and changing to it underscore. So you loop at e underscore it underscore file into the work area. split. I use the string function split w underscore file hyphen field at comma. We know it's a comma separated into w underscore mat hyphen atnr mat hyphen ndrsh tart makTx mins and w underscore mat is e underscore it underscore. So all the data will be mapped to the material internal table. So now we are having the material internal table perfectly ready to be used. So as yesterday we had discussed it, this is the first part of a conversion or a data migration program, interface or a conversion. You are reading the content of the file and bringing it into the ABAP program. So once the data has reached the ABAP program, then the next task is what? And the next task is to move the content from the ABAP program into the SAP database. And in order to do that, we have different options, right? We have BDC method, batch data communication method. Under BDC, we had seen called transaction and session method. Then you have BAPI method, direct input method, IDOC method, this, that, so many other options are there. So BDC method is one of the most primitive forms that SAP provided for uploading data into the SAP system. It uses a very simple principle. What basically BDC method does, it tries to replicate a standard transactions flow. So now I have material data. I need to create the material into the system. So how do we create the material normally? For that, SAP has provided a transaction MM01. That's where you got lost here. So let us run MM01. I give material number, industry sector and material type. MATNR, MBRSH, MTARP. Click on select view. Click on this button, select view. Select basic data. Click on enter. So the steps to be followed to create the material using the standard transaction is very important. So the functional owner will teach us how to do that. Give the description MAKTX and base unit of measure, which is a mandatory field. So this much is what we enter. And you hit on enter. So it says, you are about to exit, do you want to save? Yes. Yes. Okay, don't worry about break is it user. This is some enhancements that we introduced for some class coming up. So we have followed a series of steps to allow the material to get created. So there is a series of steps that has to be followed to get the material created. Now what I have to do, I have to replicate these steps in my ABAP program. Material BDC 001 created. I need to replicate the steps that I have done just now in my ABAP program. Okay, then only I will be able to, create materials into the system. So the question is, how do I replicate? So for that I need to capture the flow of the transaction. To do that, we have a transaction called SHDB. We have a transaction SHDB. Go into SHDB, new recording. So this is a transaction which will allow you to record the transactions. Okay. SHDB is a transaction which will allow us to record the transactions. give some name for your recording. Enter the transaction code you want to record. MM01 is what I want to record. And I say start recording. Start recording. So it will run MM01 again. Give a material number, industry sector, material type, click on select view, click on basic data, click on the enter button, click on test material, enter base unit of measure, click on the save button. Yeah. Don't worry about debug, it's not click on debug. There. So what you are seeing here, okay, what does the transaction recording mean? Transaction recording, see what you are seeing on the screen is the flow of MM01 transaction. SHDB has given you this thing. This is the flow of the transaction. What you have done, you have run the program so and so, first screen. In the screen we have entered the material number, industry sector, material type, clicked on the button, select view. The next program executed, next screen has come. In the screen you have selected a checkbox and clicked on the enter button, then the next screen has come. The screen number was so and so. In this screen you have entered test material and you have entered unit of measure and you have clicked on the save button and then material got created. So the transaction recorder has recorded this flow. Okay, the transaction recorder has recorded this flow. SHDB transaction has captured the flow of MM01 transaction. Or any other standard SAP transaction you can run. You can run any transaction in SHDB and it will give us what is the program name, what is the screen number, what is the field you entered in the screen and what are the buttons you have clicked. It give us this information. Give us the program name, the screen number, the fields you have populated, the buttons you have clicked. It's the flow of the transaction. Are you getting it? What is the flow of the transaction? Okay, so what I have done is I have recorded the flow of MM01 transaction. If I can replicate this flow in my ABAP program, then I can make the ABAP program to run MM01 transaction and post the data into SAP. So that's the idea. Okay. So how do I replicate this flow? So program name, screen number, field name, field value and all. SAP has provided a standard structure to replicate. Okay. So SAP has provided us a standard structure called the BDC data. If you go to data dictionary, and check for this BDC data structure. If you go to data dictionary, you can see there is a standard structure by the name BDC data. It has program, din pro, din begin, fnam and fval. So that is what you are having here also. Program, din pro, nothing but the screen number, din begin, it's just a value x. Fnam, field name, and fval, field value. So this is a structure provided by SAP which can be used when you want to replicate the BDC data recording. Okay, so BDC data, the name of the structure itself is BDC. So now in my program I need to replicate that flow. loop at IT underscore map into W underscore refresh IT VDC data. VDC data hyphen program. W underscore VDC data hyphen time program. what am I doing? We are trying to replicate this flow. So the first thing that we have to, first line of the internal table, if you look at this content as an internal table, the first line is having program name, screen number and X. So the first line, build BDC screen, program name and screen number. Then the next line is field number and field value, field name and field value. So field name and value in that field. So the value in that field is going to come from the value that we have brought in from the file. Right, we have brought the data from the file. So that is available for us in the internal table IT material. So I am reading the content from there. Okay, again. Next field, what is the next field? RMMG1, MBR. Copy paste it, don't try to write on your own. Okay, any mismatch of field names, everything will go for toss. MBRSH. The next field, MTART. So we have populated the three fields. Then the next thing to populate is OK code. OK code is nothing but the function code of the button that you have clicked. You have clicked on the button select view. So the OK code of the button that we have selected. So BDC OK code. Yeah, that's a hard coded value. So use it as it is. Copy. Paste. So one screen is done. Now we go to the next screen. Program name is same, only the screen number has changed. And on the screen we have populated one field and one OK code. So what is the field? This was nothing but the name of the checkbox where we selected basic data 1. Just a checkbox. So checkbox will have a fixed value X and OK code is again the next screen. What is the screen number? Next screen, the program name still remains the same. The screen number has changed to 4004. 4004. On the screen, we are populating 1 to 2 fields and then the OK code. So what is the first field? Description, MAKTX. Description. What's the next field? Unit of measure, MEINS. Okay. So this is the flow of the MM01 transaction. Okay, so you are having the first screen, then we are populating the fields, OK code, next screen field, OK code, next screen field, OK code. So save it. activated. So when you run this flow, what the program will do, it will build up the internal table ITBDC data, which will almost look like this particular content. After your ITBDC data is filled up and ready, then what? And we post the data into SAP. How do we post the data into SAP? So the first method that I know is to apply call transaction method. In call transaction method, we have call transaction. What is the transaction? MM01 is the transaction. Call transaction using ITBDC data. Mode. Suppose we say all screen. After this mode, let us take it on the selection screen, so we can control in which mode we want to run the program. Default, we will give A, that is all screens. So what are the other modes that we have? A is all screen. What are the other modes we have? We have A for all screen. It will show you all the screens. Then you have N. This is no screens. And what else we have? We have more E, which is error only screen. So it will stop and start showing you the screen where the error is occurring. Error only. This is all that you have to do. So you build up your BDC data and then call the transaction. Call transaction. Let us see whether it will help us or not. Okay. So let's build up a file. Okay, so this data looks fine. Material number, industry sector, material type, description. Okay, 2 records are there. Data looks fine. So save it and then let us run the program. Test. So give the file name. Material.txt. Okay. So first task, read the contents of the file. So because it is in the application server, it will come to G_upload. Read the contents of the file into the internal table. The entire record is read as a single line. Process data. This will split the file into individual fields. So the data has been split into individual fields. Now what I am doing, I am looping through my internal table one record at a time. So ITBDC data. So now what you are doing, define the screen and you populate all these values. See, when all these values are done, if you look at ITBDC data, see, it looks very similar to your recording. It looks very similar to your recording. Right? You have the program name, the screen number, dine begin, fnam, fval. So now your ITBDC data is filled. Now I am going to run call transaction. F8. See. It will run MM01, populate the values, and this is the OK code. Why this is being shown is because you said all screen. It is showing you the screen. If suppose you had said no screen, in the background it will run. The transaction will run in the background and it will post the data. See? See? And that. Okay, these are big points that are coming. First material is done and the control is back. You are back in the loop. Now you are reading the next material to be posted. Before that, you have to refresh ITBDC data. This line looks so immaterial, such a small line, but it's very, very important that we refresh the ITBDC data structure. See, the ITBDC data internal table is containing these values. This is for one transaction. If you do not refresh this and continue populating, then these values will remain and then the next record will come. So you are filling it up with incorrect values. That is why always refresh the BDC data and then refill it. Okay. One of the biggest mistake most of the people do when they do conversion program, forget to refresh the BDC data structure. Again it will run. And the materials got created. You can see the material is created. You can go and check it out in the standard transaction. MM01 is to create a material. So always remember one flow in SAP. You will always have transactions in a block of 3. MM01 is create. So MM02 is change. MM03 is display. You'll always see all transactions like this only. VA01, VA02, VA03. Create a sales order, change a sales order, display a sales order. Any transaction you take, it will be like this only. ME21N, 22N, 23N. XD01, 02, 03. XK01, 02, 03. FD01, 02, 0. It's always like that. It's a sequence. MM03, which SAP follows. So you give your material number, click on select view. See here, basic data. The data has been posted into the SAP tables. That is the reason why you are able to see it from MM01 transaction. This was our data, it was our material, got posted into SAP. So that's the idea behind uploading using the transaction method. So what you are doing, you are running a call transaction and posting the data. Very simple. Your task is read the content of the file, bring it into the internal table, record the flow of the transaction and push your data into that recording. System will run. So this method is pretty slow or time consuming because you are running or you are doing the data load screen by screen. One screen at a time, you are running and loading the data. Okay, so that's the idea with call transaction method. Okay, then in the BDC recording approach, we had two methods. One was call transaction method. What is the other one? The other one is session method. Okay, we have call transaction method and the next one is session method. So what is this session method? So if we go in for session method, what we have to do and what will happen? So what basically happens in a session method is the same concept of read the file, fetch the data, post. The only thing that will not happen is when you call the call transaction synchronously, that is inside your program the standard transaction is running. Okay, the standard transaction will run and it will post the data into the system. But in the case of a session method, that is not the way it will happen. What happens in the case of session method? The recorded flow will be stored in a session and this session can be processed at some later point in time. Okay, so how do you create a session? To get the session created, we need to use three function modules. The first one is BDC underscore open underscore group. BDC open group. Okay, so first function module to call is BDC underscore open group. So this is the function module responsible for creating or defining your session. What are the values you pass it? Client, SI mandate, group. Group is very important. Group is nothing but the name of the session that is going to be created. So that is why I am giving it as a selection screen input. So anybody who is running the program can define the name for his session. Hold date. Okay, the next one is hold date. Hold date is the date after which the session can be processed. So that is why I am taking side data -1 so that today now we can process it. So hold date. Keep is after the session is processed, you want to keep the log. Username is the name of the user who has processed the session. So first one was BDC open group. Oh, sorry, BDC open group. The next function module is BDC. So what is the transaction code we want to process? MM01. So where is the data which we want, which we have to process? It is in ITBDC data. Right? ITBDC data is what we have populated with the flow of the recording. That is also. So BDC open group, BDC insert, and then one more last function module is BDC close group. It's very important, though you don't pass any parameter or anything to close group, still it's very important that we call the BDC close group. Otherwise the session will remain incomplete, unclosed, and you cannot process an incomplete session. So BDC open group, BDC close group, and BDC open group, BDC close group, and BDC insert. These are the three function modules responsible for getting your session created. So let us first change the data in the file. 56 and 57. Two new materials. Save. Close the file. Back in a program. Take the file. Give the group name. Test. And select session method. So what happens when you select session method? You select the session method. Material will be created, IT mat got created, now it's done. So BDC open group, first task, then loop at IT BDC data, it's populated. BDC insert, it is not going to run the transaction, just BDC insert and that's it. The loop will continue. BDC insert, and you are out. You can see no material is created, nothing is created. You can cross verify the material got created. /n mm03 56 and 57, right? So 56 if you write it. No. The material is not got created, but we have completed the program. The recording is done and the load is completed. What has happened is the system has actually created a session and stored this data. It has not posted the data into SAP. Where can I go and check the session? SM35. If you go to SM35, there it is. The name of your group, G test. The status is new, created. So you select your session and you say process. Now it will post the data into SAP. Process in foreground, suppose. So you can see the processing happening. Now it is posting the data. Then you can go to session overview. You can see the session has been processed. You can select it, click on the log. You can go and check the log, see what exactly happened, how many process, what, blah, 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 everything it will give. Okay, so that's the advantage with session method. What is the advantage? Instead of immediately posting the data, it will push the data into the session, which can be processed later on in the background. Okay, so typical question, what is the difference between call transaction method and session method? Everybody tries to answer. So people say weird answers. Call transaction cannot be run in background. Session method is used when you want to process data in background. Okay, when there is a huge volume of data, people use session method. There is less volume of data, we use call transaction. You just Google for differences between call transaction and session method. You can see all these kind of answers. But if you ask me personally, out of my experience over the years of using this method, these are all trivial. Call transaction is used when you want to post data in foreground. Why you want to post data in foreground? The first session itself I told. Conversion programs are used for loading huge volumes of data. Who is going to run it in foreground? It will always be run in background only. You will not post 1 million records in foreground. Next, can we process a call transaction program in background? Yes, we can. We can schedule, okay, we will see that. when we are discussing background processing. How we can schedule? We can schedule a program which is actually running call transaction in the background without any problem, without any issue. Okay, so session also can be processed in background, call transaction also can be processed in background. Volume, next is volume. Once you are processing a file in background, what difference does it make? You processed 10 records or processed 20,000 records, doesn't really make any difference. Call transaction will run, it is running in the background. So the very idea of issue with volume is gone. Okay. So what are the scenarios where you go for session method? One common example that people give is when you want to process or post multiple transactions in a single program, you go for session method. So to some extent it is true. See, what happens is you create multiple sessions, and depending upon the kind of data you are getting, you push your recordings into different sessions. One session may be for MM01, one session may be for BA01. Why is it like that? There can be scenarios where data comes in like that. Some data has to be created. Some scenario is material is created. Some scenario is material is being changed. So you need to run two different transactions. So you need to do two different things. So session really helps us in managing it. Okay, it's not that only in session you can do that. Even in call transaction, I can run two different transactions. But managing two different transactions in a better way is more manageable in session. Beyond all these problems, one primary scenario, at least practical experience, primary scenario where I have seen session really handy is, as I was telling, see, your file with millions of records has to exist in the background. And only you can post it. Sometimes what happens in some cases, especially interface scenarios, the file is not going to come and sit in your background server location or in your application server location. It's not possible. The way the external file is sent, it will come and sit only in the desktop. Imagine that from the bank the file is coming, it will come as an email. It will come as an email to one of the employees. And this employee cannot take this file and keep it in the background, and all those kind of things cannot happen. But his file is going to have lot of records which cannot be processed in foreground. Okay, we cannot progress the file in the one minute. Okay, so as I was telling, what happens with session method is, no matter your file is having millions and millions of records, the session does not post the data, right? Within few minutes, it will get all the contents that are there in the file and build up the session. So what I can do, I can run a program in foreground, capture all the records that are there in the file into the session, and then at a later point in time post the session in the background. So that way I am not limited or bounded by running or keeping the file in the background. Okay, I don't have to keep the file in the background. I can just have the file in the foreground and post it. So that is the advantage that session method gives us. Okay, so that's a really key advantage when you try to compare call transaction with session, because in call transaction such a case is not possible, because call transaction will post the data immediately. As soon as it gets one recorded data, it will start posting, start running the screen. So as the size of the file increases, the screen process will take its own sweet time. Okay. So coming back to the program, what were the function modules we have called? So BDC open group, BDC insert and BDC close group. These are the three key function modules that will be called to get the session done. You have to call all the three. Open group, insert and close group. Okay. So that is the first two of the methods from BDC. So we have session method and call transaction method. Okay. So what we will do in our next session is we will go in for the BAPI method. We will try to use the BAPI method and see how the data can be posted using the BAPI method. Okay. This is another programmatic way of posting the data into the SAP system. We will see that how and why it is more effective, more efficient than the typical recording methods. The BAPI method is the most preferred method. Only when a BAPI is not available that we go in for all these recordings and sessions and all these things. Okay, so we will have a look at that. Try to spend some time on the BAPI also, understand what BAPIs are and how do we go about working with them. Okay. So we will be having our next session, and tomorrow you will be coming. Tomorrow you are not going to come, right?
No, Shibu, I'm not coming tomorrow.
It will be Friday evening for you, right? So you can come on Sunday evening, right?
Sunday evening, yeah, I can come.
You can come. What I will do is I will send a link with 31st is Ugadi over here. I doubt these guys will be there. I will forward you another link. Use that link for Sunday.
Okay. Otherwise, we'll continue on Tuesday, right? That's Wednesday morning for you.
Oh, no problem.
So send me the link. I'll mail you back.
No. What I'll do is, because see what is happening is 31st is a holiday for me. I may be traveling on our regular Monday evening day. So that is why on Sunday evening we can have a session, we can finish off, so that the next day even if we are not having a class, we will not miss time. Okay, so what I will do, I will forward you this link. Okay.
Okay.
And then you join it on that particular link on Sunday evening. Okay, the time we will keep the same. It's the same time. For me, it will be 6 in the morning. I think it's around 8:30 for you.
Okay.
Something like that. Okay.
Sure.
Okay then. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.